Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm your host, Reanna Hoffman, and this is a space for women learning to wait well and live fully. Whether you're in the middle of uncertainty, transition, or just figuring out what's next, this podcast is here to remind you you are not behind, not forgotten, and definitely not just waiting. Let's dig into truth, grow in courage, and hold on to hope together. Welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I'm Reanna Hoffman, and I'm so glad that you pressed play. This is a space for women who are navigating the in-betweens, seasons that feel uncertain, slow, or just not what you expected. Whether you're waiting on answers, clarity, direction, a relationship, healing, or something you can't quite name, this podcast is for you. And I want you to hear this from the very beginning. You are not behind. You are not forgotten, and you are not just waiting. So if you've been around for a while, you might remember the podcast used to be called the Me and Ree podcast. It started as a space for young adults asking big questions about identity, about calling, about purpose. And honestly, that's still what this is, but over the last year, God started shifting something in me. I began to realize that so many of the women that I talk to, that I minister with, that mentor me, or that just kind of sit on the couch with me, we're all asking the same simple question. What do I actually do when I don't know what's next? How do I live well here? And what does faithfulness look like when I feel stuck? And I feel that on such a real level. And that's when the phrase "not just waiting" came to mind. Because waiting can feel passive. It can feel lonely. It can feel unseen. It can feel like your life is on hold. But biblically, waiting is a deeply active thing. It's courageous. It's faith-filled. And that's why our theme verse, Psalm 27:14, is at the heart of everything that we're doing here. That verse says, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage and wait for the Lord." It doesn't say just sit around and hope something changes, although that is what I would like to happen. It's not waste time until God shows up, although sometimes I happen to accidentally do that. It's a call to strength. It's an invitation to actually take courage, not in your circumstance, but in God's character. So this podcast, it's a reminder that you can wait with God. You can be in the in-between and still live fully. You can still grow. You can still obey. You can still worship, and you can still hope. Maybe no one else sees this part of your story. Maybe you feel like your life isn't moving fast enough or you missed your moment. But I want you to hear this. You're not waiting because you're behind. You're waiting because God is preparing something and forming someone, and that someone is you. Let me take a minute to tell you more about what you can expect in this new season. Every week on Not Just Waiting, we're going to talk about how to live well in the middle of the unknowns. Sometimes it'll be just me in a solo episode like this, sharing with you what God is teaching me. Sometimes we'll have guests who have walked through waiting seasons, whether it's singleness, career shifts, infertility, grief, healing, ministry transitions. You name it, we're probably going to have it. We're going to talk about things like surrender and trust. How to find your identity when life doesn't look like the plan. We're talking to the people over here about finding joy and peace when timelines fall apart. About obedience when the next step isn't super clear, and building community in the middle of the wait. But at the core of it all, it's just this, that Jesus is with you, and there's so much purpose in this part of the process. You're not less valuable because you haven't arrived. God isn't waiting to use you until you have a better job, a partner, a platform, or a clear 10-year plan. If you have a 10-year plan and it's worked, we need to chat because my 5-year plan hasn't even worked. Honestly, my 6-month plan hasn't worked, so we need to chat. But God, He's working now. He's inviting you into faithfulness now. And that's what we're going to explore together. I want this podcast to feel like a safe conversation with a friend. Someone who gets it. Someone who will remind you of the truth when the lies feel really, really loud. because I've been there. I've lived in the tension. And some days I still do. Maybe more days than not. I've wrestled with whether the wait means I'm forgotten. I've questioned if I was falling behind. I've had to wait and fight the lie that God only shows up for people who seem to have it all together. Newsflash. Allegedly, none of us have it all together. But Psalms 27:14 tells a better story. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. That's not a punishment. It's a promise. God is worth waiting for. And the wait isn't empty. It's full of an invitation. So if you've been feeling like your story is paused, I hope this podcast reminds you God is writing in the margins. He's moving in the quiet, and he sees you right here, right now. You're not just waiting. You are becoming. You are being refined and strengthened and drawn closer to the heart of Jesus. And that, my friend, is a beautiful place to be. Here is what I would love for you to do as we begin this journey. Hit follow or subscribe, whether you're listening, wherever you're listening, so you don't miss an episode. Leave a quick rating or review. It helps other women find this space. And if this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend who's in a waiting season too? You can find me on Instagram at reanna.iv.hoff or through my Substack, which is also called Not Just Waiting. And we talk about all of this via writing, via conversations, via comments, and DMs. So I'd love to continue this conversation with you. We're just getting started, and I am so excited for what's ahead. So let's take heart. Let's wait with strength. Let's trust that God, the God who sees, will meet us in the now, in the not yet, and that every moment in between. This is Not Just Waiting. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much for joining the Not Just Waiting podcast. I am pretty sure we just chatted about all of the things that this episode / podcast is going to be about. And I wanted to give you some life updates from the summer before we jump all the way into talking surrender and trust and faithfulness and hope and how the Lord is providing in crazy, amazing ways. So one of the things we need to chat about is this summer we had some not cool body things happen. And that is okay. The Lord is good and is healing and doing all kinds of things. But in the process, my brain has kind of left a little bit, just a little bit. So if I get confused or if I take a little longer to come up with a specific word, it is because the brain is foggy. And I will do the best I can during cuts and edits of this episode to fix that. But I am a person and I tend to ramble, and sometimes I need to tell you things and I get cut off in the middle of my ramble. So that's one major life update. Second, we're getting a new podcast studio. How exciting is that? So Philip and I, if you are new to the podcast, Philip is my husband. I talk about him a lot. I'm slightly obsessed. Some of you guys that listen know that I'm more than slightly obsessed, and I'm being nice, saying that I'm just a little obsessed. We bought a house this summer, and we're moving in a couple weeks. So our beautiful face is behind us, and the peace lily and the weird lamp over here might be in our podcast studio. They might not. We're getting a new space, so the podcast studio is going to look a little different. It might also mess with the sound, so be patient with me as we figure that out. Some of the things that we planned on doing this summer was resting, and I learned a lot. I learned A, that I'm not great at it. I learned B, my watch is a huge distraction to me, and it causes me great anxiety. So we're in the process of figuring out how to wear a watch, because I love knowing what time it is without being notified all the time. And you're like, Reanna, just turn off the notifications. I get that, but I can't. I can, but I can't. So I've turned off. I don't have social media notifications to begin with, because I found out that stressed me out in college. My phone, like my text and my phone calls come through on my watch, because I don't like when my phone makes noise. Anybody else not like when their phone makes noise? I can't stand it. So that is why my notifications come through my watch. But it stresses me out. So I took a break, probably about a week, maybe 10 days this summer. Like the month of July. I keep saying the summer. It was the month of July. that I didn't wear my watch, and I noticed that my body wasn't as stressed. I didn't hold tension in places. So we are processing how to not get stressed. That was in, again, words are hard. I was trying to stay off my phone, and I was forcibly put off my phone. We'll talk about that later. But I've done a pretty good job of staying off my phone for the most part. My time has been down. I accidentally leave it places, especially when I don't have my watch on, because I don't know that people are texting me, and so I don't have the need to pick it up. And when I pick it up, I don't accidentally check Instagram and then go to Facebook, and then I go to Substack, and then I check my 3 emails, and then I go to TikTok. I don't love TikTok, but we're doing it because we want people to learn about Jesus. So, and then I'm on TikTok, and I was like, oh, I got another notification. And it's just this doom cycle of scrolling. So we're trying to break the doom cycle of scrolling. I also was on my couch a lot more than I have been previously in this year. So I was forcibly made to rest, which was funny because the Lord has been real funny in the month of July. And we rested, so check. We learned what causes us stress, check. I did not read The Wild Robot. It might be on today's to-do list. My husband had to read it first, and he finished it in like a day and then told me that there is a sequel and there might be a 3rd book. So I have been going back and forth as to whether I'm going to read The Wild Robot without having the subsequent books. I am one of those people that I don't like to watch a series until all of it's out because I don't like waiting. Which is hysterical. That's why we're having this conversation. I don't wait well. And we are in the process of learning how to do that together through our guest and through what the Lord is teaching and guiding and directing. I'm getting better at it. But by no means am I an expert. I do not have my doctorate in waiting. And it really shows up when we're watching shows, when we're reading books, because I really need to have the whole kit and caboodle out. At one point this summer, body was being weird, and I have a habit of, if I watch a movie that I've watched before or a show that I've watched before, my brain's like, and decides to fall asleep. So I had to pick a show that would keep my body awake because I was not sleeping at night because I was sleeping during the day, which is problematic when you're not a nocturnal animal. So I had to pick a show, and I ended up picking, I think it was called High Potential on Disney Plus. Maybe it was on Hulu. I don't know. Disney Plus and Hulu were merged in our house. And there was only 1 season of it, and I didn't know that. And I got to the end of the episode, and it was a cliffhanger. And I was like, no! So next time we'll do our research before we click on a fun show without knowing if everything's out there. But yeah, so we're learning how to do things. We're learning how to rest. Community has been fun, learning how to do community this summer. Our church, another update, we serve at a church plant here in Fredericksburg. I actually moved here to help start the church plant. My husband and I met there. I want to say we got married there, but we didn't have a building, so we just had an impact wedding, not at the church. We had a church wedding, not at the church, and it's been so fun. But with us being a church plant, that also means we're a portable church, and we are technically on our 4th location. This summer, we found out that the building we were subleasing, I don't know what the correct word is there, but a local theater building group, sorry, words are hard, was renting a building, and they were allowing us to use their space on Sunday mornings. Air conditioning got weird. The weather here in Virginia has been wild, crazy, zany. And it has been hotter here some days than it has been in Mississippi. And I just think that's wild. And the building wasn't functioning correctly. And when the air conditioning doesn't work in a humid environment, then mold and mildew start to grow. And so that happens for our friends that we were renting the building from, or subleasing the space from. And they were renting the building. And they got a call. And then they called us, hey, we can't use this space. So we did house church for a few Sundays in July, which is very normal. I don't want to say normal, but the way we structure our church plant is if anything happened, we could immediately go to house church. And we did, and it was almost seamless. Like, really cool about that. We had church down at the river one Sunday, which we have been planning for months and months and months, and the Lord just provided perfect timing. And then for the month of August, we're meeting at a field house in Fredericksburg, not like at a school, but it's one of the buildings here in Fredericksburg. And that has gone really well. And I can't wait to see what the Lord is doing with space and how he moves and works, because every time he moves us, he provides and he brings more people and we get to share the gospel. It was really cool at church because we were in 2 of like 6 courts. I don't honestly know how many courts there were, but there was tons of people in this building. It was not just the church. And I remember thinking, we were sitting on the back row because we were serving, and we were sitting with some of our friends that didn't have anybody to sit with. And all around us, you hear balls and things hitting walls. And we're on a speaker. We have a microphone. And it was so cool to think that some of these people, that was the first time they'd ever heard the gospel. And they just happened to be in the same place that we were. So it's really cool how the Lord moves and works and how he gets to provide and he gets to serve the people that he loves. And because he loves all of us, he gets to serve all of us in just crazy ways. And so I cannot wait to give you a full report on what that looks like and how that moves and functions. But that's a church update that you didn't ask for. But it just kind of proves that July was wild. July was wild. We thought we were just taking a break from the podcast to regroup and recuperate. And I guess we sort of did, but not in the way that Reanna wanted to. And it just leans toward more of the waiting thing. We have to wait. We have to take courage. We have to see what the Lord's going to do, and we're going to wait on him to move next and tell us how to move next. So it's been cool to see how he's provided. Our new house is perfect and gorgeous and a lot of money, but when I guess you buy a house, it costs you money. So it is going to be interesting to see how we, fit in that house and how we get to use it for the Lord, and how he's going to provide people, and we're going to get to host. And we already got to talk to some of our neighbors. We haven't moved all the way in yet. We're having to get a couple things redone. But we ran into them yesterday. Literally, I was watering some bushes on the front and weeding our little flower bed because it was driving me bonkers. And our neighbor was like, hey, have you guys moved in? And so we got to have a conversation with him and invite him to church, we were just standing in the yard. It wasn't like it was intentional. And so I cannot wait to see how the Lord moves in this new house and how he is glorified and how he is made known to all the people in our little neighborhood. So that'll be fun. But as we move forward, I cannot wait to share with you guys what the Lord's teaching and how he's moving and how he's providing. We have some amazing guests lined up that I cannot wait. Am so thrilled to have these people on our podcast. We are gonna continue a little bit with our Time, Talent, and Treasure series that we had in the Me and Ree podcast. I will make a playlist on Spotify so that you guys can watch all of those now that they're split between 2 podcast names. You can always go back and watch the other podcast episodes 1 through 31 on Me and Ree. Just know that they're gonna say, hey, welcome to the Me and Ree podcast instead of welcome to the Not Just Waiting podcast. You're more than welcome to go watch those. If you haven't and you're like, this girl is interesting, go back. A lot of them have lots of my personality in it. And the first one is an episode of me and my husband. We were joking, saying we were going to have a podcast called Couch Conversations with the Hoffmans. And I really want that to happen, but that we're not in that season yet. So maybe someday we will have Couch Conversations with the Hoffmans. But for right now, we're just going to wait and see what the Lord says. And we're going to move to the next step and see what he does and how he provides. And we're going to wait and serve and love people and do whatever he tells us to do. So thanks for listening to this ramble with Reanna. Thank you for joining the Not Just Waiting podcast. One thing I did want to tell you about, I don't want to forget, we have a Not Just Waiting t-shirt that I am so excited about. I ordered mine. I cannot wait for it to come in. It is a Gildan soft style. It's not as expensive as Bella Canvas, and it doesn't shrink in your washer like Bella Canvas does. I don't know if you guys have had that problem. I have. And it's a sage green shirt. It says Seen, Loved, Becoming, and it has a hand that has a plant growing, because if you haven't noticed, I'm a proud plant mom, and a lot of waiting is growing. We wait all the time for plants to grow, and we're growing in the same way. So if you want one of those t-shirts, I will link it in the show notes below. I think they're $20, and they can be shipped directly to your house. I don't have any in stock here. It's a cool thing that we're doing. We're trying a new service, and it'll ship straight to you. So whether you're in Mississippi or Virginia or Kansas, if you're international, message me and I will enable it to be shipped somewhere across the seas. But for right now, it's just US shipping. But I'm so excited, and I want you to get your hands on it. So click the link below if you want it. Otherwise, it has been a joy and a privilege to chat with you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Thanks for joining this journey. Thanks for not just waiting. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye, friends. Thanks for listening to the Not Just Waiting podcast. I hope today reminded you that even in the in-between, God is working and you are not alone. If this episode encouraged you, would you share it with a friend? And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss a moment of truth, hope, and real conversation. You can find me on Instagram at reanna.ivy.hoff and join the community over on Substack for deeper reflections and weekly encouragement. Until next time, take heart, friend. God is in the waiting with you.